The Ontario Fire Marshal's office is set to investigate yesterday's explosion on Thunder Bay's north side. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Thunder Bay Fire Rescue officials believe a gas leak led to the explosion that leveled a home on Crown Street yesterday.
One person was inside at the time, but fortunately managed to escape and has since been released from the hospital. Eabametoong reports.
Cleanup will begin Tuesday after a weekend explosion devastated a north side home. It happened Sunday on Crown Street, resulting in the residents to be a total loss. The Ontario Fire Marshal will begin an investigation Tuesday, though Thunder Bay Fire Rescue Fire Prevention Chief Kevin Anderson says they have an idea of what caused the explosion.
It appears like it was a natural gas leak. When the fire was going, there was, intensified flames on the area where the gas goes into the house. So what process that happened before or after, that's what the investigation will determine, but it appears it was a gas leak and possible explosion.
The explosion caused neighboring houses to catch fire, but a quick response prevented any serious damages. A total of 8 pumpers, 2 aerial ladders, and a command unit responded. Someone was inside at the time, but Anderson says a catastrophe was avoided.
Yes, when I called the hospital, they said only one occupant went to the hospital for some burns. He was released, but he is dealing with some burns and will likely have to get further treatment for that, but he was released. He's not admitted to the hospital.
Prior to the fire marshal's investigation, the local fire rescue will be surveilling the area with drones to find more information about the blaze. Eabametoong, TBT News.
We're learning today that the bus driver involved in a deadly 2023 crash that led to the death of a 10-year-old boy has been acquitted. There was an outpouring of community support after Riker McKelvey was struck while riding his bicycle on May 23rd of last year at the intersection of Red River Road and Clarkson Street. The bus driver involved in the collision was charged with careless driving causing death, but a trial was held at the Thunder Bay Courthouse this past October, and on Thursday, the driver was found not guilty.
2 people have been charged with attempted murder in connection with a shooting on Finlayson Street last month. A pair of 23-year-old suspects, Marcus Ragabir of Ajax and Jessica Lewis from Thunder Bay, were arrested on Saturday. The incident happened on the afternoon of November 21st. Police were called to the 300 block of Finlayson to respond to calls about a single gunshot. No injuries were reported. The 2 accused have appeared in court and remain in custody.
Police are asking for the public's help to locate a federal offender. 30-year-old Brandon Roy is wanted on a nationwide warrant after breaching a statutory release. Roy is described as 6 feet tall, Indigenous, weighing 160 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. He's serving a 2-year sentence for armed robbery and assault. Roy is known to frequent Thunder Bay, Kenora, and Timmins. Anyone with information should contact the Province Repeat Offender Parole Enforcement Squad or Crime Stoppers.
City staff are going back to the public for input on possible sites for a temporary homeless village after council decided not to approve administration's preferred location on Miles Street. Staff are now widening their search for a potential site and are asking residents and business owners to weigh in through a new online survey on the Get Involved section of the city website. Encampment Response Plan lead Riley Willinen explains what they're looking for.
So we're asking folks to give us their thoughts and ideas on locations for the village. So there's space in the survey for folks to identify where they think it should be. We also have a map function where people can just drop a pin to show us where they think it should be. We also have a spot for just general feedback. We also want to know how folks think this might benefit the community.
The survey will be up until January 15th. It's also available at local library branches for anyone who's unable to complete it online.
With the mercury dropping, the care bus operated by Norwest Community Health Centers in partnership with Thunder Bay Indigenous Friendship Center is up and running again in the city for the 5th straight year to help provide crucial health and support services to vulnerable people during the winter. Last winter, the care bus helped nearly 11,000 people, most notably used as a warming center. It also provides people with low barrier transportation, food, and safe use drug supplies. Harm reduction workers are on board as well to help clients set up medical appointments. Norwest Community Health Center CEO Juanita Lawson notes that a number of organizations are also offering pop-up clinics to those who need them.
working with the public library, and so or with Grace Place and with our Thunder Bay District Health Unit, but we'll also be looking at offering them here at Norwest Community Health Centre. So it really depends on the type of service.
This year we are also offering outreach support, and we also have our treatment and aftercare coordinator on the bus this year and our Indigenous mental health and wellness worker as well. So we'll be able to provide a lot of services and supports to people who are really pushed to the margins in our community.
The care bus will run every day from 1 to 9 p.m. The route starts and ends at Norwest. During cold weather warnings, those hours could extend to begin as early as 9 a.m.
City staff will recommend delaying a report on the red light camera program at tonight's City Council meeting. Administration wants the report to be pushed back to early next year, this after it was already delayed a few months ago. The provincial program would introduce red light cameras at certain intersections across the city. The cameras would capture images and ticket drivers who run red lights. In 2021, the previous term of council voted against joining the program as councillors were wary of the $875,000 annual cost.
A vehicle rollover on the city's north side yesterday afternoon sent 2 people to hospital. The dramatic crash happened just after 3 o'clock at the corner of Secord and Ambrose Streets. One of the vehicles flipped onto its side. Police say both drivers were taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. One person was charged with failing to stop at a stop sign.
Eabametoong MPP Saul Mamakwa's effort to make September 30th, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, a provincial stat holiday was officially voted down by the Ford government at Queen's Park today.
Mr. Cho Scarborough.
Mr. Cho Scarborough.
Mr. Rickford.
Mr. Rickford.
Mr. Kersner.
Mr. Kersner.
Mr. Tabolo.
The bill sought to establish a day of reflection for Indian residential schools, but it was defeated by a 60-30 margin this afternoon. Last week, Mamakwa made history becoming the first MPP to introduce a private member's bill in OG Cree. Today, before the bill was voted on, Mamakwa and Indigenous Affairs Minister Greg Rickford had this exchange about the number of students who died in residential schools in this province.
The number of known deaths in Indian residential schools in Ontario is now 656. Speaker, Indian residential school survivors across Ontario are still searching the school sites and adjacent Crown lands. What is Ontario doing to remove barriers of their search efforts?
Ontario had the hardihood to move forward with a bold plan, Madam Speaker, not just with resources, but additional state-of-the-art support so that First Nations communities and site-specific Indigenous-led groups could engage in the activities of identification, investigation, protection, and at some point farther down the road, when the scope of this is fully appreciated and understood as a result of this work, to move towards commemoration and investigation. We will continue to provide not just financial supports, but those of other ministries who can help the technological and administrative supports in an effort, Madam Speaker, to reveal these difficult findings as they arise.
Ontario's Ford government is taking its voice from the legislature to the airwaves in the U.S.
A new advertising campaign has been launched. CTV's Siobhan Morris reports.
For generations, this ally to the north has been by your side. Ontario, Canada.
It had been in the works for months, but Ontario is now running this slick ad in the United States, a bit of outreach before Donald Trump returns to the White House.
You can rely on Ontario for energy to power your growing economy and for the critical minerals crucial to new technologies. Ontario is your third largest trading partner and the #1 export destination.
The Premier's office says they're running the campaign where the audience they want to speak to is. On Fox News in prime time, during NFL games, and in Washington airports. There's a plan to expand in the new year to transit shelters and billboards, online in some key states, plus on the Fox Sports app during the Super Bowl. The Premier tells Vashi Kapelos on CTV's Question Period he wants to make clear Trump's tariff threat would hurt Ontario, sure.
But I'll tell you, it would hurt the United States. 9 million Americans wake up every morning making parts to ship up to Ontario alone. And it's just a great partnership.
A partnership the government stresses it wants to continue.
And for generations more, we'll still be here, right by your side.
The government can't say exactly how much these ads will ultimately cost. They're reasoning that the content could change and so could when they air. But you can count on tens of millions of dollars going into this campaign. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
Eabametoong students are finally back in the classroom after nearly a year without a school.
It was lost to a huge fire last winter, but the remote First Nation celebrated the opening of a temporary school last month. Justin Hardy has the story.
Eabametoong First Nation lost its school in a massive blaze last winter. In the scramble to get a temporary alternative built, the community turned to its treaty partners for support. The federal government provided $3 million and the province gave $540,000 to construct the new temporary school. A few things still need to be added to truly complete the temporary new learning site, but the community celebrated the opening last month. Danielle Yellowhead, Director of Education for the community, says that everyone was excited to see the doors open.
We had a ceremony and a opening prayer and a drum song for our students on November 12th, and there was a lot of students that showed up to the community hall in the afternoon, so that's where we shared a bunch of food. We catered in pizza, Salt and Pepper was able to send in some food, and it was a great time.
Construction of the temporary school was completed rather quickly despite a few setbacks like hitting bedrock while trying to install water and sewer lines. Staff and students have been getting by with virtual and land-based learning. School principal Thomas Stanley says it's been a bit of an adjustment to be back fully in a classroom.
It's a new space, so we're learning new routines, learning how to be back together again, because before the new buildings were built, we were half the time land-based and half the time in some temporary structures that we had. So now that we're in the more permanent structures, everybody's calming down, we're setting up routines, less time outside.
There is currently no official timeline on when construction is set to begin for the permanent school, but it is estimated that it could be completed in 5 to 7 years. Justin Hardy, TBT News.
Mount Baldy became the first hill in the province to open for the season when the doors opened to skiers and snowboarders on Saturday morning. Those who got out this weekend were happy to be back on the slopes. Mount Baldy owner Dan Cardis says his crews worked for 6 days straight to have the snow ready for the weekend.
It's been a good turnout. Yesterday was pretty amazing. A lot of people are psyched. They're pretty shocked that we made snow that fast in basically, like I said, 6 days. And the temps weren't that cold, but we have warm guns that can make things happen. So our crew's working hard day and night. We're going 24 hours. Now we're going to try to connect the dots on the mountain, and hopefully next weekend we'll shoot for it to try to get the lift open, and we'll get the gold going.
They made snow. They did an amazing job here at Mount Baldy. I can't believe, for December 1st, this is incredible. We're out here having fun with our friends. After last year, they're really trying to make up for it, right? I mean, make that snow, get people out here, and just create a lot of excitement in our ski and snowboard community.
I'm snowboarding. I like going down the hill.
Right now, just the Bunny Hill is open along with the Magic Carpet Lift. But Cardis hopes to offer more options in the coming days.
A lot of people having a lot of fun out
sure.
on the ski hill, to be sure. All right, Fiona, that leads us perfectly into weather. It's still a little bit cold for my liking out there today, but I suppose I have to get used to it.
Wasn't really that cold. Because it wasn't that bad. We had an early morning low of -8. We warmed up to -4, so we are well within seasonal range. Even the overnight temperatures were actually a bit mild for this time of year, so I think everybody should just tell Ryan just to... Winds were from the northwest, 11 to 28 kilometers per hour, so not as blustery as it was last week, and definitely not as blustery as it was at times on the weekend. We had lots of sunshine to start, but then increasing clouds. Now, if we take a look what's going on throughout the region, it's probably driest and sunniest today in our neck of the woods because there has been snow elsewhere. Now, to the west, Fort Frances is mostly cloudy, but the temperatures, again, much like last week when we have systems moving through, the temperatures aren't really moving much. We had a low of -9 and a high of -7 in the fort, and at this hour the wind chill is sitting around -11. Not a lot of movement to the north, but what movement there was actually temperatures dropping. Red Lake started at -12 and have dropped to -14 with a wind chill of -22. It is very chilly up to the northwest, and they've had snow and drifting snow all day. That snow continues through Sioux Lookout, Armstrong, and into Greenstone. They too saw temperatures drop, started out at -6. They're now at their low for the day of -9 in Greenstone. Wind chills are hovering around -12 in this region. So this entire swath from Fort Frances through Dryden, Upsala, Armstrong, and up into Greenstone, wind chill-wise, very consistent temperatures, despite the fact that there's much more snow north of Lake Superior. Along the North Shore, well, it is a little chilly for this time of year, but -6 is what they're at in Nipigon, Marathon, -4 in Wawa. Sault Ste. Marie had what I guess you would call a normal day for this time of year, had overnight lows of -13, warmed up to -1 in just the last couple of hours. Temperatures are starting to drop again. They're sitting at -6 and a wind chill of -9 under mostly cloudy skies for much of the day. Here in the city of Thunder Bay, we'll drop down to -13 and a wind chill of -17. That's with the winds staying fairly consistent from the northwest, about 10 to 15 kilometers over the course of the night. And if we're looking for the rest of the week, well, these cooler temperatures are going to continue. There's cold air sinking down. That's why areas north of Thunder Bay are seeing their temperatures actually drop a little bit during the day instead of warming up. There's also, however, going to be a good chunk of snow on the way. So tonight, definitely going to be a good idea to pull out the shovels if they are still in storage or under a layer of dust like mine are at this moment. Maybe grab your outdoor brush, because there is definitely going to be some snow on the way for tomorrow. And Ryan and Riley, I'm going to warn you, there'll be even more snow tomorrow night. So yeah, I would maybe tune up the snowblower if you haven't already.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Get prepared.
Good news.
Well, after the break, we're getting some more details about that surprise meeting at Mar-a-Lago between Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, and other officials. This, of course, comes as Trudeau continues to face pressure from the opposition to solve those border issues that Trump has identified. We'll have details on that right after the break.